Welcome to the Simple Idea Podcast. My name is Makai Green, and this is a podcast on self-help and personal development. Every week, my goal is to share my struggles and successes with the aim to improve and to become the best possible version of myself that I can be. Each episode focuses on valuable life lessons and personal learning experiences that I hope will positively influence you and inspire you to be the best possible version of yourself that you can be. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into this next episode. Hey guys, we're back, and this week's episode is on self-discovery. But before I get into that, I'm sure you guys just heard the intro. So that's the thing now. We have an intro, and there is music attached to it. And the music is actually from a producer from Italy that I've been following for the past year or so. And I like a lot of his music, and I figured I'd throw one of his beats on the introduction just to give it a little bit of its own personality, the podcast. It's kind of lacking a few certain elements, and I thought music was one of them. So, I reached out to the producer who goes by Ihaveaface. He's actually a producer out of Italy. Makes a lot of cool beats. I'll link him in the description. And if you're listening, dude, dope beats. Big fan. But yeah, it was really cool and nice of him to let me use his beat for the podcast intro. And I'm debating on whether or not we use it for the closing as well. But yeah, kind of in that experimental stage, and so far I like it. Give me some feedback, let me know what you guys think of it. I follow a ton of different lo-fi and funk producers on SoundCloud and like other platforms and whatnot. So, music's all around. So if you guys are interested or if you like the beat, reach out to me. I could send you some music and whatnot. But yeah, what's new is the introduction music and the introduction as well. For the introduction itself, try to keep it brief and concise. I thought the audio was okay, but could probably use some work. And over time, introductions will probably get better. So I'll be on the lookout for that. And last episode, I actually recorded that, and I plan to post it to YouTube. But I ran into some issues, some technical issues. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to implement video into the podcast. It's nothing too crazy, and I can figure it out. But as of now, we're going to take a break from the visual side of the podcast. So when that's back up and running, I will get back to that. But yeah, like I said before, the topic of discussion for today is self-discovery. And I would say self-discovery is just the process of figuring out who you want to be and who you are, who you want to be. That's ultimately what I view self-discovery as. That is what I view self-discovery as. Ultimately, where do you fit in within this world? And ultimately, just finding a better idea of fulfillment or what gives you purpose when you wake up in the morning. That's how I kind of sum up self-discovery. So we're going to get right into this one. And yeah, I just said all that about self-discovery. I'm probably going to say that a lot within this episode, so please bear with me. But to me, I don't think self-discovery is entirely real. And I'm not going to try to be all theoretical here and throw out a bunch of crazy ideas and theories, which are my own, mind you. But I am going to kind of share my own thought process based off of the responses that I've gotten from other people. And I kind of came to my own conclusion on what self-discovery truly is. So a lot of the people within my own life, or just people that are older than me, people with a ton of life experience, tell me that to this day, they still don't know what they want to be or what they want to do when they grow up. And these are 30, 40, 50 plus year old people who are telling me this. People who already have established careers or people who are already, they've seen what life has to offer. And I keep hearing the same thing from them saying, yeah, I still don't know who I want to be. I still don't know what I want to do. 5 or 10 years from now, things will be different. And I'm very much aware of the fact that life is always changing and always altering, and something new is introduced. And life is just a game of adaptation when you look at it from a bird's eye view. So we're aware of that. I think most people are. I don't think anybody will contest that life is essentially a game of adaptation. And self-discovery really falls underneath that, because you're always adapting, you're always finding new interests, you're always finding new things that you like, things that you don't like, things that you might have liked in the past, Those things, you might not like them in the future, and vice versa. So ultimately, adaptation is a huge part in this, and I didn't really plan on talking about that all that much, but I think you guys can kind of see where I'm taking this. Like I said, these are established people who are telling me they don't know who they are, or who they want to be, or what they want to do, and this is all part of this process of self-discovery. Um, and I don't want to like make it seem like self-discovery is only linked to like a certain career path, or what you do for work, or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I believe it's something that embodies you within your entirety, like everything that makes you, from what you like to listen to music wise, to your favorite types of food, to what you might do career wise, to where you want to travel, what type of vehicles you have, who you want to spend your time with, what groups or social groups you belong to, or political affiliations. Like that all is gathered together through self-discovery. So it's not just a career path. It's not just what you do to make money. So I don't want to make it seem like that's the case, just for clarification. But I'm looking off of my script here because I want to make sure I hit all the points that I kind of thought about over the course of producing this episode. So next, I kind of want to touch up on figure out who. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, life is a game of adaptation, and we pretty much live our life trying to figure out who we want to be, even into old age, even when we hit 60, 70, 80 years old. Like I was saying before, I've talked to plenty of people who are, twice my age, and they consistently tell me the same thing time and time again. And it's, I don't know what I want to do. I want to be something. I don't know what it is, but I'm still looking for my identity. I'm still trying to discover who I am. I'm still trying to discover myself. So, yeah, we live our entire lives searching for our own identities. And I'm not trying to be too, analytical, or bring up a bunch of different theories. And, I'm not trying to go down that path. I think you guys get what I'm trying to say here. But, yeah, that is very much something that we undergo, all of us as human beings. I don't think anybody ever truly finds their identity, but I do think that we can gather our identity to a certain point that we are comfortable with that identity, if that makes sense. And I'll get into that in just a brief second. Ultimately, what I'm saying with that is we never truly know what we want to do, who we want to be, who we want to be around. I don't think we ever fully know that. And this is just my theory. You guys are more than entitled to, think whatever you decide to think based off of your lived experiences. But based off of all the information that I've been given, I've kind of drawn my own conclusion. And my conclusion is we try our hardest to hit a certain stage of self-discovery. And when I say that, I believe there's like certain stages where the very bottom of that stage is, okay, you know absolutely nothing about yourself. You don't know who you want to be. You don't know who you are. You don't know anything at all. Like, you're just a blank canvas and you're trying to figure it out. And over time, with different experiences and meeting different people and just different opportunities and whatnot, you kind of piece it together bit by bit. And then you reach another stage where, okay, you're realizing what you like, what you don't like. You're realizing what you want to do, what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy. And then you just build off of that, and it kind of bumps you up to a new level where you're like, okay, I know that I'm a person that enjoys, fresh made alcohol, I guess. I don't know. But just giving an example here. Like, I like fresh made alcohol, and I appreciate hiking in the middle of the winter with my friends and family. That's something that you like to do. You're discovering an identity. You're somebody who likes to go hiking in the winter, and you like fresh made beer. And it only took, a life experience or some type of you pursuing some type of activity for you to figure that out, is what I'm saying. So the more we figure out these different activities that we like doing by just kind of like throwing ourselves out there and just doing those activities, the more we have a better idea of what we want to do. The more things we try, the more things we realize we either like or we don't like. So I wholeheartedly believe that there are stages to self-discovery, and it kind of just, I would say that it definitely develops over time. It's not something that you can just do all in one day. I think it's something that takes years and years, and it kind of takes you that time to establish yourself or to have a better sense of establishment. I don't think there's ever 100% clarity in who you're supposed to be. I always think there's room for some type of factor that might throw you some other way. I don't know what it is, but like I said, this is just me coming to this conclusion, with all the information that I have readily available to me. trying to make sure I hit all my points here, because this is actually a very exciting episode for me to kind of talk about, and I'll keep going in a minute. But yeah, ultimately, I do think we try to reach that high stage of self-discovery. That is possible. I don't think everybody reaches that same stage. I think we all have our different levels. I don't think it's like level 1, 2, 3, and then bam, you discovered who you are. I think everybody's their little self-discovery calendar or clock or whatever you want to call it, they're all set to different like little wavelengths. So each person is special, or there's some type of deciding factor on how far they get. That's really what I'm trying to say. And this kind of leads me into my next thing. I do think self-discovery, like I said, it's something that we undergo our entire lives. But I think it's massive. It's absolutely important, and there are several reasons why I think that is. By developing different attributes or different characteristics or things that you enjoy or not enjoy, it just gives you a better idea or a better sense of direction as to where your life should be heading or where you need to go. And I think it's something that you unknowingly do, and you can also knowingly do at the same time. I don't think it's not possible to not go through self-discovery, but I think you can be willing to go through it and kind of enhance that process that's already happening, if that makes sense. But yeah, self-discovery just gives you a chance to develop you as a person. And I keep saying the same thing, but it really just comes down to just trying new things, getting different experiences, putting yourself in different environments around different people. Ultimately, just trying new things and finding what you like and what you don't like. I know I've probably said that a ton of times by this point, but that's kind of how this conversation might be going. Yeah, it just lets you, I would say it's like that process of getting to know your own skin. And yeah, you're in your own skin. You are yourself. There's no debate for that. But with self-discovery, you become more familiar with yourself than you were before. And like I said before, it's still something that people do unknowingly. I think self-discovery, no matter what you do, it's impossible to negate the act of self-discovery. It's going to happen regardless. There's no contest there. And you can debate me on that. I think, like I said, that's just how I feel personally. And this is me, drawing conclusions based off of the information that I've had. But I personally do think that it's impossible to not go through self-discovery. But I do think it's possible to knowingly go through self-discovery and enhance that process, or to boost that process, because you're aware of it and you want to boost that process. But yeah, I'm like going off on a tangent. So many different thoughts in my head right now. Like I said, this is a very exciting episode to kind of talk about and write down and throw my ideas out there. Where are we at here? Yeah, like I said, learn what you like, what you dislike, and really, it kind of shows you where. It doesn't give you a 100% reading on where you're supposed to be, but it gives you a better idea of where you should be. That's how I view self-discovery, because I said it 4 other times, I'm pretty sure at this point. Self-discovery it's not, you don't know who you are. You just have a better idea of who you are. And once we discover who we are, or we have a better idea of who we are, we're on track to live a life full of more understanding. And if I were to expand upon that, basically what I'm trying to say there is, how do I word this so that it makes sense? By taking all these different experiences and all this new information and past information and meshing it together, we have a better idea of how we are supposed to operate within this world. We have a better idea of what we're supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be with, who we're not supposed to be with. It's kind of like I don't want to make a video game reference here, but it's kind of like character creation. You're kind of setting yourself or putting yourself on the right track to be the best version of yourself the version of yourself that you would like the most, if that makes sense. I kind of had to, hash out my thoughts there for a minute. But, yeah. And then on top of that, self-discovery is, like, absolutely vital, just because when people, and I think I'm speaking for the people who are, like, knowingly going through self-discovery, and even not. But I think, you know, you could say as a whole, people who go through that process, like, and that's everybody, and the people who are knowingly going through it and like trying to amplify that process, those people tend to be happier, healthier, and just more excited about life altogether, just because they're trying new things. They're accelerating that process of trying to figure out what gives them the most fulfillment or the most purpose within their life. And by going through this process and just kind of like, you know, just like I said, accelerating it, you are more comfortable in your own skin. That's what I'm getting at here. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's so many different thoughts. I don't know how to get it out. But yeah, self-discovery, in my opinion, I do believe it leads to, a happier and healthier and more excited person, a person who, you know, gets up in the morning and they're a little more excited about life because they're actively going out of their way to try to find their interests, to find the things that gives them purpose, or a reason to wake up in the morning, the thing that gives them the most joy. That's what self-discovery is, in my probably very skewed opinion. And then I don't want to keep this episode too long, and I know I said that every episode, but my experience with self-discovery, because, you know, if you listen to the intro, which I hope you did, I'm trying to give you guys, you know, a very authentic look into my life on a daily basis, week in, week out. So I don't want to, you know, talk about myself all that much, and it's kind of hard not to, because that's kind of the premise of the podcast. I am not typically somebody who talks a lot about myself. This is actually a fairly new thing that I'm doing, and it's not even to really talk about myself. It's more so to kind of just share my experiences and kind of like throw them at you guys and be like, hey, this is working for me, this isn't working. I hope you can learn from this, because I'm actually going through this learning curve while going through it. So I am talking about myself more than I've ever talked about myself before, and like I said, it feels weird. I'm not some, like, you know, somebody that thinks I'm this awesome, amazing person, and not that I'm not, but I don't want to, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is I don't have my head up my ass when I talk about myself, to put it in simpler terms. So yeah, I'm not used to talking about myself a lot. I do apologize if it seems that way. It's kind of the premise of the podcast, but I don't want to make it about me, but it is about me a little bit. It's because it's like a little peek inside of my life. But, you know, I'm digressing. I'm just trying to share my struggles and successes, and I'm going to do that with this topic of self-discovery, because I am actively amplifying the process of self-discovery at this point in time. So I thought it would be interesting to share my perspective and my overall experience with that. And sorry, guys, I'm just like talking really fast. Very exciting episode. I don't know if you guys can tell or not. Like, my words all over the place and thoughts are everywhere. Can't even form sentences over here. But yeah, very exciting stuff. Love to talk about this kind of stuff. But yeah. Do want to mention that people my age are at the very beginning of self-discovery. I think, you know, growing up, we're kind of limited. Not that we're limited, because we're always going through self-discovery. From the moment we're born, I do think that that's something that we undergo. I think it occurs at like a very slow rate, because, you know, you grow up and, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I like wrestling, or I like basketball, or I want to be a doctor or a firefighter or a police officer, or, you know, I want to be a doctor, or this, that, or, you know what I mean? Like, you have an idea of what you want to do through, you know, very minor life experiences, but at that point in time, you don't have the same freedoms that you have once you hit adulthood, or at least the age of 18. So, like, you're always going through self-discovery through those younger ages, because there are people who know what they want to do when they're 6 or 7 years old, and then they're 30 or 40, and they're this amazing professional in whatever field they want to do. And I'm not contesting that, because, you know, that happens a lot, but I would say for the majority of people, or the masses, and I could be wrong, I'm just going based off of, you know, my own experiences, so feel free to contest it. This isn't set in stone, it's not fact, it's not law, but I do think that the majority of people, especially my age, that's when you start undergoing these changes for self-discovery, or that process. That's when it really kicks off, because you're no longer underneath, and I don't want to call it living with your family or parents or anything like that. I don't want to call that it's not a prison, it's not a cage, it's not a cell, but in a sense, just to like kind of paint a better picture here, when you live with your family, you're kind of under their wing, you're like under their care, and there's not much freedom and there's not much room to grow outside to find out what you really like, because typically how most families work, you are very close to how your family raises you. So you're pretty much a product of your environment, and not. This is like going into like so many different directions here, but I'm trying to hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from here. But yeah, I would say once you hit like 17 or 18, that's when you're really able to start making your own decisions, and your parents typically might give you a little bit more freedom, and you have the ability to make your own choices, and you start figuring out what you like and what you don't like. So like I said, people my age are really starting this path. Like this is when this process starts to really amp up, and when you have more control over it than you did before. If you guys are following what I'm saying. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at that 18 to like 20ish range, where I'm just now starting to figure things out. And this year more than ever, a lot of things have happened to me within the past like 5 or 6 months. But over that course of time, that's really where this whole experiment with self-discovery, or like actively trying to discover myself, has really taken off, which is, it's awesome. It's a blessing. Like every day I wake up and I'm just excited to just live, which, not that I wasn't excited to live before, but I just have a different outlook on life because I'm actively trying to figure out what I want to do, what is my purpose. I'm just living life more than I ever did before because I'm actively searching for self-discovery. But yeah, I've been doing that by just involving myself in just various random things that I never thought I would do before, just to see if I like it or not. And if it sticks, it sticks, and it becomes a part of my identity. But really, it's just me injecting myself in just these crazy, various situations that I would have never imagined myself doing before. But I said, why not? Just because, hey, maybe I'll like it. Maybe I don't. If I don't, I won't do it again. But if I do, maybe I will do it again and again, and then see where it goes. So really, it's just trying new things. I don't think you can discover yourself unless you put yourself in these different environments around these different people, and maybe make yourself a little uncomfortable, but just throw yourself out there and just do it. Don't act, just do. And I know I mentioned that in an episode or a few episodes ago, but that's really what I've been doing. And a part of that process, something that's been huge for me, and like I said, the past 5 or 6 months, but just I'm trying to personally figure out the idea of self-love. That's been like a huge part of my own self-discovery, is trying to figure out what makes me an amazing person. And like I said, I don't have my head up my ass. I'm pretty, I don't want to say soft-spoken, but I'm pretty reserved. I'm pretty, observant. I'm not somebody who's gonna, yap my mouth off or just talk a lot, or like, that's not me. I'm a pretty quiet and reserved person who speaks when I have to, which is, I kind of appreciate about myself. But where I'm coming from here is I'm basically just trying to figure out things. I'm trying to figure out why I matter. Not that, that sounds weird. Why I'm pretty much just, I'm awesome. Why is Makai awesome? What makes me a great person? Why, like, just basically just trying to figure out who I am and why I should love myself. Because I don't ever think I've ever taken that step to fully appreciate and love myself. So now more than ever, that's what I've been doing during my experiment with self-discovery. I've basically been just figuring out things that make me amazing and that make me feel good, and just fully appreciating myself, because I think most people, they live their lives not fully appreciating themselves unless they're like, aware of the fact that they need to appreciate themselves. And there's a lot of people who do that, which is great. But I think the majority of people don't sit down and say, hey, why am I so awesome? Like, you sometimes you just have to sit back, and not in a cocky way, not with your head up your ass, but you have to sit back and be like, hey, why do I appreciate myself? What makes me special? Sit back and just relax, grab a coffee, grab a tea, just appreciate yourself from time to time. And I'm going through that process too, which is really, really cool. And really, it just comes down to tending to my needs and my wants, and just putting myself first, because that's not something I've done ever. Not that I've been in a position where I care about other people more than myself. It's a whole nother conversation to have there. But I've never actively sat here and said, hey, Makai, what do you need? Makai, what do you want? What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What makes you do this? What makes you do that? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? How are you feeling today? Like, I've never sat there and asked myself those questions and had genuine concern or appreciation for myself. So for self-discovery right now, that's been massive for me, and I'm happy that I'm doing it. So yeah, touching up on two more things there. Yeah, so for me, self-discovery, and it's probably been like the 30th time or 40th time I said that, but for me, it's been focusing on what makes me happy, like these various activities or just trips or whatever I'm doing, focusing on that and amplifying those same actions. Because if I feel happy once, all right, let me see if I can do this again. Am I going to feel happy a second time? Yup. Oh, it was even better that time. So self-discovery is finding those things that make me happy, finding those things that give me, a sense of fulfillment or just joy, amplifying it, and then building off of that. Because maybe there's something that I can add on to that to help, further identify myself and figure out who I want to be and where I belong within this massive world of billions of people. And I do think that once I've had a certain amount of experiences, I will basically be, I won't know who I am. I don't think anybody will ever know who they fully are, but I'll have a better idea of who I am and who I'm supposed to be and who I'm supposed to be around. And I'll just discover myself more than I ever had before, and I'll be comfortable in my own skin. But I think once you're comfortable in your own skin, I think that's a different thing. I think that's self-acceptance. And I haven't reached that yet because I don't know who I am yet. And like I said, most people don't, but you have a better idea of who you're supposed to be. So, I don't have all the answers. I don't want to keep going down that because we're running out of time here, and I want to keep this, brief and concise. But yeah, I hope that gave you guys like a little bit of a insight on how I feel about self-discovery, my own little theories behind it. I don't know. I just hope it was an interesting episode. I had fun kind of, drafting this out and going through it with you guys if you're listening. And yeah, it's a very exciting process. I encourage you to actively go out and self-discover yourself. I mean, we're always doing it. It's always a passive effect. But when you knowingly go out and do it, I think you're creating a pathway for more happiness and more fulfillment and possibly a healthier life altogether. Because when you try to find your purpose, the more you do it, the faster you're going to, the faster you might fail towards it. But then once you know what fails and what's not working, you're going to find some success along the way. So I think by actively looking for yourself and finding out what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy, you're going to pave a path for just more happiness in the long run. Like I said, nobody ever knows who they are, but by doing this, you will have a better idea of who you're supposed to be. So, yep, that's self-discovery. Like I said, we only have 2 minutes left, so I do want to, get to the closing here. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in other episodes, but the website is coming soon. I'm still working on it, trying to get it just right. I very much do appreciate aesthetics, so I'm always paying attention to that at all times. I do appreciate function, but I also appreciate form. So I want to get it just right before I, give the announcement that it's live. But once it is, you'll be able to reach all the major platforms that the podcast is on. It'll just act as the hub for all my content as well. So if you don't ever want to go to iTunes or SoundCloud or wherever you're listening to the podcast at, you can just head over to my website for it. It'll be thesimpleideapodcast.com. And once it's live, I'll give you guys the heads up and you guys can go check it out. But yeah, that should be coming soon. Also, you guys are probably sick of me talking to myself for 6 straight episodes at this point. So I am currently looking for guests to put on the podcast. I have an idea for one, but I still have to draft out some type of guest list or the people that I'm aiming or hoping will come onto the podcast. So this podcast won't just be about me, and I mean it'll be about me and my life experiences because that's kind of like the tagline of it. And but ultimately it's about other people's life experiences, your life experiences, and sharing your struggles and your ups and downs to help better aid or assist other people. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you guys my struggles so that you guys are able to maybe pick up something from that and add it to your life and maybe improve your life a little bit. So you're going to get my perspective a lot, but you're also going to get other perspectives in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. Hopefully I have some pretty awesome guests on here and people who have some pretty interesting perspectives. Like I said, I already have one idea for my first guest. Gonna see how it goes, but I'll keep you updated with that. And eventually I'm looking to increase the production and the gear within the podcast once it starts to take off a little bit more, but that's in the future. With that said, new episodes are every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. I've said that every episode now, and I'm probably gonna say every episode for every episode in the future. Excuse me. Trying to move quickly here. You can find all new episodes on every major platform that podcasts are held on. So Google Play, iTunes. I've given this whole spiel before, so you guys know what I'm talking about already. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week. And I think I'm going to be under 30 minutes, which is great. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. I'll catch you guys next week.